Hey guys, this is a Barefoot Therapist. I'm back with another video. Let's get into it. So, in working with couples, this concept has been crossing my mind a lot, especially with me trying to figure out a framework specifically for working with African American couples and individuals, specifically with couples. The idea of submission. So, the definition that I'm getting offline from Oxford of submission is the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. That sounds intimidating and scary, right? Like the idea of putting your future, your life, your emotional well being in the hands of someone else. So, there are points in our life in which we do this, even when we don't consider that the title or the concept that we are connecting or referencing it. So, when we are in relationships, it requires a level of emotional submission. Dot, 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 equal signs, vulnerable, right? We're being vulnerable with someone else. That means we are raw, sharing our emotional self with someone else. That requires a level of internal submission, putting aside our ego, putting aside our ideas of pride and all of those. That's putting that aside and accepting that we are a person. It is human to experience emotions, and that we can share that with other people. One, we need to do it in safe spaces. Two, with safe people. And three, also still be aware of boundaries. And when we do that, knowing that that is a part of connecting with another human person, the emotional piece of it is what changes relationships. That's what influences growth. That's what can stifle and stagnate a relationship when you have two people who are not meeting at an emotional level. Does there need to be a balance of psychological and emotional connection? Of course there does, to include like the physical experience and all of that. If it's more than just a friendship or parent relationship or relationship with your children. However, the whole concept of emotional submission, and I looked it up online because I thought it was a thing. I've been saying it, like especially with my clients, I say it all the time. But the idea of emotional submission is that we are allowing ourselves to embrace and be a part of a relationship in a vulnerable way. And that just doesn't mean being emotionally vulnerable all the time. That means being submissive to ourselves and what we want enough to be considerate, to be compassionate, to be empathetic, to be loving, to be supportive, to give our partner something that they need and or want, even when sometimes we're not in the emotional space to give it to them. Sometimes we give it to them because that's what we want to have come out of our relationship. That's what we know they deserve. So that means the submission part, and I kind of intertwine the submission part because I think that there is a level of pride and ego that has to be challenged. And the submission is, I'm going to do this even when my ego and my pride tell me no. Don't do this. Even when my fear of connection tells me no, don't do this. I'm going to do this because I want to flourish in this relationship. I want to give it 100% all that I've got. And then I also will be aware of the boundaries because everyone's not appropriate. Everyone does not deserve emotional submission. Everybody does not deserve, you to be vulnerable and empathetic. And everyone doesn't deserve that from you. Everyone doesn't need that from you. So be aware of your environment, the person, place, and thing, right? That matters. I think even in talking with people get so fearful of the concept of vulnerability. The thing with vulnerability is that incorporates you just being who you are, right? Even in that, you're being vulnerable in the world, even if it's not an emotional space, right? So I'll give you an example. I say all the time, especially for myself, I'm a very vulnerable person because I try to be 100% of who I am every day of the week. That makes me vulnerable. That means when people say, they don't like me or they don't understand me, that's about me because I know I'm being all me. And I have to accept or challenge that idea or not accept it at all. And so, what I challenge myself to do is take in what I believe is relevant and leave out what I believe is not. Um, I'm not creating a character for people to like or dislike. What I find is that people create characters that they feel comfortable sharing with other people and they feel safe, and that's a defense mechanism or protection for them. But they don't allow themselves to be 100% real and free. So eventually, those two people, the person you really are and the person you've created, are now clashing because that is not all in one. That is not parallel. That isn't cohesive or fluid. You have to practice, and so eventually, it's not gonna work anymore because who you are is just naturally what you want to do and who you want to be. The practiced character created worked in certain situations and experiences, but that does not mean that's going to work overall. And again, that's how we create defense mechanisms, that's how we cope with things. That's just a part of being a person sometimes, where we have to create something or someone else in order to survive. There's no shame in that. There's no right, wrong, or indifferent in that. We got to do what we got to do. However, then we know in growing as we can learn how to survive, and not just survive, but live in being ourselves and cope in a different way. So all in all, I wanted to talk about this whole concept of emotional submission because I think that it is necessary for us to do for ourselves and to do in relationships in order to be successful. And of course, success is defined for people differently. What I mean is in order to have a productive connection with someone else, including you. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope to come with some more videos in the future. We'll see how that goes. But thank you guys. Have a fantastic day. Peace.